2012 is the 50th anniversary of the formation of the women's group within the United Church of Canada, known as the United Churchwomen. Formed in 1962 from two groups, the Women's Association and the Women's Missionary Society, the UCW has been a source of friendship and service for tens of thousands of women over the past 5 decades. Matthew Penny spoke with Linda Fishley, who is the current London Conference President of the UCW, about the special anniversary and some future visioning.
The UCW has gone from being what I would describe as a tight, formal organization, more to a relaxed fellowship group of people.
They certainly have. We've gone from being Mrs. Harvey Fishley to Linda Fishley over the years, and we've gone from wearing hats and gloves to coming in whatever we happen to have on that we're comfortable with, and our meetings are much less structured, always include worship and always include fellowship and some study. Don't have to be formal.
Well, and that's a good thing, because the UCW, we're here because it's the 50th anniversary, and you're the conference president, but the UCW, when I was a child, back when they were formed, was something that was an event to go to once a month. Now it's just a friendly time. And even the senior members that I know of UCWs are having a lot more fun than they used to, I think, at the meetings.
That's true, and there's a lot less business done and much more fellowship, and laughter is a very, very important thing. My theme for this 2 years is make a joyful noise, and that's what we've been doing, is making joyful noises in praise of fellowship and just having a good time.
Well, in our world we need joy. There's a lot of negative stuff out there, and if the UCW can bring some joy to some people's hearts and minds, that's a wonderful ministry. Have you been a member of the UCW since the day it began?
I am not a charter member. I started coming...
I thought you were too young for that.
Well, thank you. I started coming, I guess, when my children were in school, so 1972, somewhere in there I started coming. A friend of mine said, "Oh, you want to go to a UCW meeting?" And I said, "Okay, what's that?" And
what's that?
And came along and been here ever since. And it's an important part of my life.
Well, the UCW is 50, and you happen to be blessed to be the president on the 50th anniversary. That's really special.
Very blessed. Very blessed. I went to all the Presbyterial annual meetings, and they were all celebrating. We're celebrating our past, but trying to learn from that past where we can go in the future. And I don't know the answers where we can go in the future, but it's like the church. You know, we're a part of the church. The church's numbers are going down. The population is aging. That's what's happening to UCW. And so it's going to change. It's not going to be the same organization in 5 years. I don't know what it'll be like in 2 years, but in 5 years, it's not going to be the same organization. It may not be an organization as such, with meetings and things like that, but it will be there because the pillars are fellowship, worship, study, and service. And even though young people in the church don't want to come to meetings, they live by those things too. And so they help us, and we try to show them where we go with it, and hopefully they'll find a way to do it in the future.
Well, I found as a minister that in my past, I remember the UCW as being a very powerful organization. They were a determined group, and they always had money. You know, and I don't say that in a disparaging way at all, but they always were able to raise money and do things, and when something was needed at the church, the UCW was often the backbone and said, "We can do this." And I don't think that's changing.
No, that has not changed. The way we do it sometimes changes. We can't cater to great big dinners anymore, and well, some of us could, but we've decided to not. When it becomes a chore and not a joy, then you don't do it anymore. So you find other ways of having a little plant sale or a little something like that, you know, just that has more fun, but you raise the money. And the money isn't the most important thing. Whenever we're doing some kind of a fundraising effort, we're having a lot of fun doing it, and its fellowship and its support for one another.
What's the UCW nationally, United Church Women nationally, done to celebrate its 50th anniversary?
Well, we have a book.
Well, let's look at the book. This one.
Yep.
What's in it?
It's called Ordinary Heroes, and that's exactly what they think women of the UCW are ordinary heroes. It's a history book. It goes back and tells about everything that was done from 1962 on, as far as in all the 4 pillars, in the worship, in the study, in the fellowship, in the service. And it's also, besides having contributions from the people who, like me, are just the local people, there are contributions from past moderators and people from the staff office in National, and I have read this book from cover to cover. And usually when you pick up a book like this, you'll pick it and you'll read a story or something. But I've read this from cover to cover, and I didn't put it down. I read it from cover to cover.
It actually gripped you?
It did.
What were you learning in it?
Well, because I didn't start till about 1975, I didn't know. I mean, I understand that we have some connection with the women in South Korea. I didn't know that we actually stood side by side with them to try and get some kind of freedom, some kind of rights for them. I didn't know that.
Wow.
But we had back and forth visits between South Korea and the Canadian UCW.
So there was an advocacy thing happening at that point.
Witness.
Right? Witness.
It's witness. You witness beside them. There are stories like that from different countries. Of course, we had the Beads of Hope with Bangladesh,
Yes.
for the AIDS and things like that. And we've always supported the Butts in Bangladesh. And these stories are all in there. There are stories about, there's a bursary that I'm sure 99% of the local people don't know. It's called the Agatha Casa Bursary.
Never heard of it. Here, I should know that.
Yes, you should. I should have had it marked. It supplies money for anyone who is interested in doing studies further into wants to go into the ministry or any kind of, not even the ministry, but just any kind of further study to benefit their spiritual life. They can
Wow.
apply for the bursary.
That's incredible.
And I'm sure most people don't know that.
And they don't know that, but it would be a wonderful gift if someone wanted to explore their spiritual life and have some time and some support to do it.
And they put in an application, they're screened, and if they fit the criteria, then they're given some assistance.
Well, after watching the show, they'll know.
They will.
And that's a good thing. Wow. Now, are there pictures in this
There
wonderful
are
book?
some pictures, not too many pictures, but a few,
Yeah.
and that show the service and the fellowship and
how we've changed from one
how
time
we've
to the other.
changed. Exactly. So it's a very good book. I recommend it highly.
And it's available where?
Well, it's available at the resource centers that are still around.
Yep.
Or it's available from UCRD.
The National Churches Publishing House.
Yep.
Right. And you have this,
That's a tapestry of love. That's the symbol that's been chosen for the 50-year celebration.
now was this actually made into a tapestry too?
There have been tapestries made,
Okay.
but we not specifically. But it has symbols, the interweaving of ideas and spirits. The dark colors represent the dark times of our life. The bright colors, the bright times of our life, which happen all the time.
Yes.
The ends are open, which means we're not finished yet.
Ah.
It's not bound. We're still called to weave a pattern of life.
The UCW is an organization, we might say, that's evolving.
Exactly. We've changed our time frame that we are asking people to commit to as far as presidencies in a lot of places.
Okay.
We've always had the 2 years as second vice, and 2 years as first vice, and 2 years as president, and 2 years as past president. That's 8 years of your life you're committing.
That's a long time in this day and age of multiple change and quick.
And most of us aren't sure we're going to be here in 8 years. So we changed it. You're going to still be president for 2 years, but you'll just be vice president for 1 year and past president for 1 year.
So 4 years instead of 8,
4 years
cut it in
instead
half.
of 8, cut it in half. And that's the model that National uses. And
Right.
so we decided in London conference that that's what we're going to do as well. And I think a lot of the Presbyterials may go to that too.
Well, it takes a lot of pressure off.
It does.
Because people, things change. You move, careers change. You have to change positions. So, 8 years is just too long.
It's a long
It was a
commitment.
wise decision, I think, to make that move. Well, where do we go now from here? What if you could vision your dream, you know, you say, okay, no holds barred. Your dream for, as conference president of the UCW, let's start at the conference level. Where do we go from here?
I wish I had an answer. I really don't know, because it's hard to dream about something that the church as a whole can't figure out. And so I don't know. I really don't. I love the people. When you go to national and you meet the people from all across the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, the East Coast is a booming business for UCW. They love their UCW. They're growing. I think it's their way of life. It's much quieter than ours, and
Well,
so
I
they
found
have
it
more
more sedate,
time.
calmer, yeah.
More time for things like UCW. They're not always busy. It's so their model and their service to each other is wonderful. They do a lot of work for each other and for the people that need things out in the East Coast. That's what I want to see happen. I want to make sure that, I would like to make sure that our mission goals stay the same. We need to reach out to people and to keep reaching out to people, whether it's in our own community or whether it's in places like our project for the 50th anniversary in Morogoro, which is for maternal health in Africa.
Okay.
These are the things that we need to keep going, and whether we can instill that into the younger generation, they have to look a little bit beyond their noses and see that there are lots of things that are needed locally, in our country, and across the world. I think that's what UCW needs to continue to do. In my own congregation here, our young people are busy.
Yes.
Our women have full-time jobs.
Yes.
They have families, and we all know that sports take up 3/4 of their free time.
An inordinate amount of time.
Yes, and I'm just as guilty. I have grandchildren that play hockey. But
Right.
We can always count on them for help. If we need someone to come and help us out to serve at a banquet, they're here. They're with us. They don't keep their distance. They like to
supportive.
be with us. Yes.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what we have to do, is just remember that they're still there and that they're willing to be part of us even if they don't want to come to a meeting. They're part of us.
Well, what you're saying, I think, is that the younger women in the congregation know about the UCW and know that it's part of them. And I have a theory that people sort of drift away from the formal organizations of the church in their 20s and 30s, but wander back in their 40s and 50s.
And that could happen. And in a lot of places, when I went around to the Presbyterial annuals, there were young people that were coming out, and some of them were taking the offices. And by young, I mean after their children are in high school or whatever, when they have a little more time. Yeah. And even after they retire, because sometimes they retire at 55 now. So I think we'll be there.
I think that's hopeful. And I would give you the hope to say, yeah, that happens, because my experience says that somewhere after confirmation, that 15, 16-year-old person in the United Church disappears, save for the wedding and the baptism maybe and occasional things, but they come back because people discover a spiritual longing in sometimes it's their 40s and 50s, not their 20s and 30s anymore.
Right.
And it seems to me the UCW as a joyful celebration in an informal way is something that would attract.
I agree with you, and I think that it may happen. I hope that it will happen. We just have to hold it together long enough to see it happen. And
but the UCW was tenacious, if nothing else.
We are that. In a good way, I hope.
Well, yes.
Yeah. I don't see us falling apart. Now, at our celebration last night, we mentioned that 50 years ago there were like 300 women in our UCW here, and now we're down to like maybe 45 active women.
But that's the same thing as saying in 1960 there were 300 kids in the Sunday school, now there's 25.
That's right.
And it's not just
We're
UCW.
not unique. We're not unique. And I think it's the same with all volunteer organizations.
Well, it's the same in most service clubs. I won't name any that I know about that have the same issue. And they get the people to come to the service clubs when they get the kids out of school or out of university and they've got an extra free time and a little extra money.
Right.
Or they're retiring and got some time and they can do some things.
Yes, and the numbers aren't all that important. You have to have some numbers because if you don't, you're not there.
Well, I'll interrupt to just say that Reg Bibby said to us once, he's that sociologist, does so many studies, he said something along the lines, I can't quote him exactly, he said that there's no place in heaven, no prize for the biggest number.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Good way
important.
to think about it.
No prize for the biggest number, but the prize comes in the fellowship and the witness and the things that you do.
It does. And we think we're still doing a good job.
Well, all reports are that you are.
Thank you.
And has there anything, Linda, anything that we haven't talked about that you think you'd like to mention? Have I left anything out?
I think we've done a pretty good job of covering things.
Well, you've been wonderful.
Thank you.
And are you done this year as president?
No, I have one more year.
Oh, excellent. Wonderful. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed this year, and as I say, I have been blessed because it is the 50th anniversary, and it's special, and I have met a lot of the people at the Presbyterial annual meetings that were there because they were being recognized as charter members, and that I would never have met. And because a lot of the charter members find it too difficult to come out to meetings and this kind of thing. They're still part of us, but they don't come to the meetings.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for taking time to talk to Life and Faith today. I appreciate it, and I want to wish you lots of fun and joy and fellowship in the next year as president.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching today. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please join us again, and remember you can always visit us on the web at lifeandfaith.ca. We do appreciate your support of local television programming. So have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.